she could maybe find refuge in an international movement of narcissistic mediocrities who circle around dead, I mean, literally brain dead politics. What's incredible about this centrist thing is that because of the time warp they're stuck in the 1990s, words like new and innovation and fresh were very trendy, but they're saying all of those words in the most stagnant, dead way imaginable. And there's a new grouping in the UK called the Independent Group, which I believe is 7 Labour defectors and 3 Tory defectors who have left their respective parties to support a new group, which basically is circling around the umbrella of they hate Jeremy Corbyn, even though these Labour MPs campaigned with him just last year and won under increased margins thanks to his manifesto and leadership. They are, of course, not resigning from Parliament and offering themselves up for by-elections because they are not serving their constituencies, both Labour and Tory, by the way. You both have a gripe. If you voted for one of these people on support of one of your respective parties and they're ditching it, you're being disrespected by these supposed paragons of the new British politics. Of course, the other delusional thing is obviously the totally marginalized Liberal Democratic Party in the UK represents the center. And what the Liberal Democrats did when they actually got a little bit of power in the coalition with David Cameron in the first Tory government of this ongoing just atrocities and austerity that have been occurring since 2009, the Lib Dems did things like, in exchange for backing massive Tory cuts, which hugely increased poverty and inequality across the UK, they got things like, small, like plastic bag taxes, really good, innovative, important lawmaking. So you might ask yourself, what does this independent group believe? Does it involve the UK's version of Segway scooters and community colleges? Well, check it out. Here's Anne Sudbury, she's a former Tory. She's going to lay out the policy vision of this new group that the masses of Britons who have given the Labour Party increased margins under the unapologetic democratic socialist leadership of Jeremy Corbyn and voted for Brexit, this is what they're hungry for.
I want to be a broad church. You don't mind if people come to join you that don't exactly agree with you on policy. What is the kind of leap?
Sorry, we don't have any policy. We're not a political party.
I was about to say, well, you're not a political party, but you'll eventually have to stand for something. You'll have to become a political party.
But it's those shared values, and it's really weird.
Wait a minute, you can't have the party of shared values.
No. All these things, I have no doubt, will happen and come about. That is not, if I may say, you're still stuck in the old way of doing things. This is something new and different. The thing that unites us is not just the values and the principles, but it's the fact that we are not tribal.
But we need to know what you're for, not what you're against.
But you do know what we're for.
And what presumably you're for.
They're purely tribal. They're the tribe of a small, disconnected, delusional group of affluent technocrats who have zero connection with the needs of the broad base of the United Kingdom. And any governing strategy by default will fall along the lines that, of course, you could already guess. They will be slightly more socially moderate, although I don't think you'll see any actual spirited defense against the horrific xenophobia of the Theresa May government. You're not going to see it from these moral nothings. And then, of course, they're going to embrace austerity, and they're going to embrace privatization, and they're going to embrace messing with the NHS. We already know where they're going. They represent their own tribe, which is a group of selfish people that get ferried around in cars to do TV hits and are funded by private interests and who suck.
You know what we're for.
And what presumably you're for are not just policies on Brexit, but if you were to stick together.
We believe in sound economic policies.
There you go.
And a sound economy that can fund first-class public services. We know that. We tolerate. We believe in all those principles.
Where are you in taxation? Do you believe on low taxation? Do you believe in high taxation? Where do you believe in public spending?
I think what we believe in, and we've not even had these conversations yet.
But hang on, what happens when you have them and you don't necessarily agree?
You cannot speculate like that. We just know between us as a group that we have these common values and these common principles.
Which have nothing to do with politics and nothing to do with people's needs and are clearly just a reflection of your own social grouping.
That interview looks like it's a scene from The Thick of It.
It is. It's post the thick of it.
Do you remember what's that scene in the Ricky Gervais in the Office where he's like, well, if you're gonna do that, you know, remember what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to look for it, but it's her action, which is like, it's not fair to ask me like about taxation.
It's like taxation.
If you're gonna do that, I'm gonna go home.
Grouping. You want to know what we think of the most important policy mechanism of our time? It's so uncouth. Let's play Ash Sarkar on the complete opposite end of that. She's from Novara Media, which everybody should subscribe to on YouTube and listen to their podcasts. They're a great UK media outlet. But she just really lays bare the just complete narcissism and delusion of these people. Do we have that? It's in the links. We follow each other on Twitter. Someday, maybe. I mean, the timing difference is hard, but someday maybe she'll be a TMBS guest. Check this out.
I know from the conversations we had with voters and the letters that I had to put out in to Labour voters.
I don't know this woman's name. Hopefully her Chiron will appear, but she's a Labour MP who's joined this independent group. And as you could see, we just heard from a Tory MP and now a Labour MP, but I could see how they would be in the same grouping.
Who would not vote Labour unless I reassured them that Jeremy Corbyn wouldn't be Prime Minister. I know we would have lost that seat. We only kept my seat in 2017 because I reassured Labour voters that Jeremy Corbyn would not win the election and therefore they could, in safety, return me as their MP.
Ash?
I'm sorry, that's completely outrageous. You stood on a Labour manifesto, and on that Labour manifesto it said that you would deliver the referendum result, and now you're turning around and saying you don't want that. What's changed since then? You stood on a Labour manifesto which would, had it won, made Jeremy Corbyn Prime Minister, and now you're saying that you had separate conversations with your constituents.
Yes, I did.
Why should anybody trust a single word coming out of your mouth when you're saying that your behaviour in 2017 was dishonest?
Because I was honest with my voters. That election was a
your
very...
Your constituents voted for a Labour MP.
I didn't interrupt. I was very honest with my voters. I've had a relationship with my constituency for a very long time now. I know how most of my voters think because they correspond with me all the time. I was very honest with them. That election was called at very short notice. Nobody expected it. And I was clear that I did not stand for unilateral nuclear disarmament.
Which wasn't in the manifesto.
Removing membership of NATO.
Which wasn't in the manifesto.
And on Brexit, but we know what Jeremy Corbyn really thinks about it.
But it's not in the manifesto.
And on Brexit, I was clear with my voters that I would not vote for a Brexit that made the country poorer. And now we see Jeremy Corbyn facilitating a Tory Brexit.
Right, let me just ask you, Ash, because one of the things that Angela said is that her values haven't changed, but the party's values have. Is there a sense, you're not a member of the Labour Party, you've said you're literally a communist. Can you understand why people in the Labour Party who've been there as long as Angela would have a problem with that, and that the party's changed, not them?
You know, absolutely. And I think that the change isn't actually so much to do with the personalities around the Labour Party. It's about the political landscape that a Labour Party would have to inherit. I think that ever since 2008, we've seen that this model of sort of soft, centre-left, centre-right, beige politics, it's been completely discredited all over Europe. So any party that wants to do well in this country dealing with the state of people's household finances will have to offer something different. What I don't understand, and I think this is also why they're not so keen to launch a party straight away, is because the policies that they would have to offer run against the current of public opinion.
That's it. That's precisely it. And as we always say, the actual center is precisely the opposite of the usual fiscally conservative, socially liberal bullshit that is always peddled by these people, and we're all tired of it. You just enjoyed that Michael Brooks Show video, and you can get a lot more by subscribing to us here at the Michael Brooks Show YouTube channel. It's literally right there.